Are we about to get credits? We did do it. Okay. Wow, what a game. Okay, alright. First things first. The bottom center of the screen says that we've beaten 50 games in 2024 and 497 since we started doing this in 2020. Those numbers are now obsolete. We've now beaten 51 games in 2024 and 498 since we started doing this in 2020. Let's go. All right, let's talk about the ups and downs of Indika. I think my analysis of this game really boils down to one question. Is this the weirdest game I've ever played? I'd have to do some digging to verify that, but it's top 5 for sure. It's definitely one of the weirdest games I've ever played. And I have to say, that's probably not for everybody, but I loved it. It definitely reminded me of like watching a Terry Gilliam film or a David Lynch film in some parts, where this game doesn't always make sense and it's not supposed to. And at other times, there were moments that were surprisingly poignant and touching. Which is true of, you know, some of my favorite David Lynch films or Terry Gilliam. I like those kinds of weird movies that they're like more about the imagery than anything else. Now, I wouldn't go as far as to say that this game is more about the imagery than anything else. There is a story here. It definitely has some pretty intense themes about the nature of faith and the, you know, the nature of doubt. So I really, really like those kinds of philosophical questions. So I loved all that. I think here are the main things I loved about this game. The imagery and just like the way that this game is just absolutely insane. The ways that it finds creative ways to be insane is, it takes a certain kind of mind to come up with that kind of thing. You know, it's a wacky game. And you just don't get that kind of thing every day, and I appreciate that just by itself. I do think it also pairs that nicely with having some really deep moments and some really deep questions and themes, so I really like that as well. The way that the game plays around with art style, I've got to find a way to say this without spoiling it, but the way that the game plays around with the art style, like, I watched a few seconds of a trailer. I didn't watch a full trailer, but I watched a couple of snippets, and I thought it looked like, you know, tries to look photorealistic. You know, it's a good looking game. You know, the graphics are decent, but it doesn't. This game, as far as like the style, the artistic design of the game, it changes from time to time, and those changes come out of left field, and they are really, really very satisfying, very interesting. This game is probably the best way to describe it as a genre is that it's a narrative puzzle game. A narrative-driven puzzle game. I would say light puzzles, but actually some of the puzzles were pretty hard. I liked the puzzles, too. I never had to use a walkthrough, but there was definitely 3 or 4 times that I got stuck because I couldn't figure out what to do. So the puzzles were not easy. There weren't a ton of puzzles. There were probably a dozen or so, but and they were short, most of them, but some of them were pretty tough. A lot of them. Almost half of them. So I thought that was interesting. I wouldn't necessarily recommend this to someone who like just loves a really good puzzle game like Cocoon or something. It's not really about the puzzles. The puzzles are kind of secondary to the narrative and just the set pieces and the imagery, but they are there and they are challenging. So I liked that too. It's a short game. It took me about 4 hours to beat, 4.5. And it's I probably could have played to 7 without starting to get bored. These kinds of narratives games, they're not supposed to be long, super long, you know, but it's like a movie. You wouldn't want to watch a 7-hour movie all at once, you know, so or maybe at all. unless it's the Lord of the Rings trilogy, I guess. As far as so I liked all that. I loved it's not, I wouldn't, it's got some walking sim DNA, but it's more of a puzzle game than that. And I'm trying to think of critiques, and I don't really have any. The game's so off the wall that I wouldn't even really know where to start. It's got some, I mean, the thing is, it's got some parts to it that end up being completely useless, but that's clearly by design. It's just supposed to throw you off. So I really don't have any critiques. The only reason this game wouldn't rank as high as some other games that I really love is that I like that video gaming stuff. I like... it's got some of that. It does have some of that. There's some platforming areas. There's some challenge mini games that are interesting and fun, but it's not like it has like gear or like an inventory system or resource management or anything like that. It's not like a deep RPG, but I really liked it. It's such a weird game that I really don't know what to say. I really enjoyed it. I've never played a game like it. I would recommend this to anyone who likes weird games. God, I don't even know, like, the way it ended. I don't even know what the moral of the story is. It's such a weird game. And it ended weird. All right. We did it. That was a fun game. I really did enjoy it. I'm glad that we finally got to play it. All right, last order of business. Indika. It has been a treat, truly. But we are now going to delete you from our console and never play you again. Bye. Thank you. Much appreciated.